Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S back at you again with another video. Hope everyone's well. Um, this is obviously the second part of my video about empowering Africa through game making and technology, technological game PCs, laptops, online games, game system games, video games, and so on and so forth, and possibly making their own game systems and things like that. So I thought I'd share some of my ideas, and I hope people out there enjoy it. As ever, I'd love to know what you I'd love to know what you think, and I hope you'll give me some likes and some love, share some love with the channel. All being well, I may dream, but anyway, I'll probably get onto this because otherwise the video might be a bit too long. So number 11, I hope to improve relations between Asia and Africa. I've talked about this before generally with tech, but I hope to do so with like game making, and especially Japan, because Japan traditionally is the number one, so as far as I'm aware, sort of number one game making country. So if African nations, when they do trade with Japan, like I think it's called TICAD, I don't know what that stands for, but it's an acronym. I perhaps should find out in the future what it stands for, hopefully. And hopefully I will. But also any other countries like the US or the UK who have game makers could perhaps, people who want to do stuff for charity, could support them and hopefully improve relations. And African nations could ask countries to do that in return for any trade or deals or anything like that. Perhaps, as ever, I'd love to know what you think about these ideas, if you think they're naive or you think they're workable, or what do you think the best ways to approach them are, and things like that. Number 12, again, I hope for people to send like mentors, or people who, charities and NGOs, to have mentors who already make games, to go to parts of Africa and train people. For instance, people with dyslexia who make games. I've heard of one or two game makers who are dyslexic, and they could go and teach fellow dyslexics in Africa, all being well, and things like that. Maybe like people can fundraise to set up academies, training academies, and things like that, which I've talked before about, like the M.K.S. to Sony game station, and sort of I came up with that idea like PlayStation, but instead for like a game station would be a specific hub where they're trained to make games and things like that. And in the future, they could either work for Sony and help them to make games, or in the even longer term than that, they could perhaps make their own game stations and things like that, or game systems and things like that. And again, make games on behalf of like football teams like Celtic, or Italian football, which I've talked before about. Number 13, I hope these lists are not boring and too repetitive, but anywho, number 14, I hope that through making games, they can also make games like I talked before about educational games, in point number 2, and they could make games that like where people have to learn how to solve problems, or people learn about STEM or main subjects, not just market to other Africans, but also to the rest of the world, so it can help Africa solve a lot of its problems financially and things like that. Number 15, I hope this will benefit Africa as much as possible as a continent, and show what Africans can actually achieve and do. And again, I'd love to hear from people, especially people from Africa, and that sort of thing. Number 16, I hope to find out what Africans can actually achieve through making games, what sort of games they can make, what sort of games will sell well. Probably parents can buy educational games for their children and things like that. So I hope to see what they can accomplish through doing so. Number 17, I hope to see people in Africa express themselves with great imagination and things like that. And as ever, share my ideas, and hopefully in the future I'll come up with more ideas and go to parts of Africa and talk about these ideas. And hopefully there'll be organisations just like with Andela who train Africans in software, but this can be specifically for making games for the mass market and things like that, and possibly specific games and things like that as well, and looking at ways they can profit maximize and which hopefully will help Africa in other ways. 18. I also hope they'll make games with like positive morals or ethics, what they can teach, which they can teach children as well as all sorts of different games. 19, like for instance, they can make their own version of their own games, and versions of things like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and things like that, and again football games and all sorts of things like that. And 20, I hope it will be key for Africa's development and people of all different ages to work together across Africa as much as possible. And despite their differences, tribal differences or whatever, they put them aside, and maybe they could even be like Pan-African games, where in the game it teaches you how to work towards Pan-Africanism, and the hero of the game is someone who can unite Africa together, or things like that, and stop African countries being invaded. So in the game, like other countries from other continents try and invade Africa, and an African leader has to unite the continent together to protect African borders or things like that. So there could be all sorts of different games. So I'd love to know your ideas or opinions or views or whatever in the comments, or what games you would like to see or what game ideas you have. And again, they can make games like for people with disabilities around the world, accessible games and things like that. So in the future, as I say, I'd love to go to parts of Africa and talk about these ideas. Peace and love.